What kind of work do you do before working on a screenplay? What's the pre-work?
Coming up with the ideas, which we talked about a few different ways to try and do that. Outlining is, again, like for me, outlining is the most important process. Again, it might not be for other people. Is for me, I have to outline and hammer that story out before I even start page one of any script, whether it be TV or feature or short or whatever. So that's my pre-process. Is first coming when I first, and I come up with ideas different ways. Some of them are from dreams I've had. Some of them are from watching other movies or reading other scripts or doing the comp game of combining things like that. I actually was reading, like I said, I've been reading some of the Blacklist scripts, and I've actually come up with 2 ideas in the last couple of days that sprung out of my head from other scripts that I was reading that have nothing to do with the scripts I was reading, but something that they said in the script tweaked an idea. I was like, oh, that would be a really cool idea. What if I used like this line that they used, but then that strikes this whole new concept, you know? So like one of them, like the mountain climbing movie that I was talking about,
Haunted Mountain.
So they, you know, she's along with climbing a mountain. Her team with her is basically making a documentary about her. You know, so you've got like a bit of a found footage, like going back and forth between like some found footage and real life stuff. So I was like, okay, well, what if we took that found footage aspect of it, and we had somebody, you know, also. The point of the movie of the mountain climbing thing is it's a mountain that no one's ever climbed. So I'm like, okay, well, what if we have somebody going or doing something that no one's ever done before and getting it all on camera? And then I'm like, oh, what if we made it a long distance space travel movie, and we take an Elon Musk type of character who's invented this brand new method of space travel, and he's going to be the one to test it out, and he's getting everything on footage, and boom, had nothing to do with that script other than there's cameras involved and going somewhere where no one's ever gone before. So that came out of that idea. And then I read another script about, it was a pilot, I think. No, it was a movie. It was a movie, and I'm coming up with a pilot. The idea I had was a pilot where the guy, they had this technology where they were able to go into, it was I can't remember the name of the movie, the script. It wasn't a Blacklist script. It was a soldier who she had PTSD, and they were trying to like fix her PTSD by instead of having regular therapy sessions like this, they came up with this VR scenario situation where they had taken all of the audio footage of like the specific mission that she was on that kind of triggered the PTSD, and she was having to relive it, but she was realizing that there were things wrong with the thing. Like they had some of their facts wrong, like who went into the building first they had wrong, and they had like the color of a building wrong, like some minor stuff that seemed minor, but later on in the script became major things. So from that, I came up with the idea of, oh, well, what if we have a TV series, a detective show, where they have this technology to basically rebuild the crime scene in a virtual world and go in there and take different people's, like the different eyewitness testimonies and then the different, like the splatter tests or whatever, and they can rebuild the entire thing and then see how the crime actually happened. I'm like, that seems, in my head, that seems like a cool idea show that I would watch. You know, I don't know. I'm not sure how many seasons I would watch, but it's at least a cool little idea. Came from just like a piece of technology, you know. So I come up with story ideas from pretty much anywhere. Either stuff I've seen, stuff I've done, dreams. I write the ideas down in my idea book where I have, at this point, literally hundreds of TV and movie ideas. I think the last time I actually counted it was 212. But it's just like a little one sentence thing. In some cases, it's like just a title of something that popped in my head. And whenever I need something new to write, I go through there, try to figure out what seems like viable ideas right now, what actually sounds fun to write right now, because not every idea you have is going to be something fun. Sometimes it's like big, cool action stuff, and you want to write those. And sometimes it's like very small, personal, dramatic, indie type stuff, you know, that you might not be in the mood for right now because it's going to depress the hell out of you while you're writing it. So finding something that sounds like something I want to write. Then I spend time actually coming up with, okay, here's the one sentence. Where's the story in that? And doing my outlining process for that. I do all my outlining by hand. I find it much easier for the ideas to flow when I'm sitting there writing it out. Again, my handwriting is so bad that sometimes I can't read it afterwards, but I do my best. And then I'll go through either rereading it in there and making changes in the notebook, or typing it all up and then realizing, oh, this doesn't work, and then can change things from the typed up version of the outline and hammering it out till it's bulletproof. And then I write the first draft of the script. That was a very long answer for that question. I apologize.
What do writers get wrong with the first 10 pages of a screenplay?
Not being interesting. I've seen too many people have flashbacks in the first couple pages. It'll start with a flash. What are you flashbacking from? If that's the first thing you're having happen, that doesn't make any sense. Not giving us enough about the character we're going to be following. Like a lot of horror, especially, we'll start off with something has to do with like the killer, like how they're killing people, but has nothing to do with the characters we're actually going to be following. So it's like a little teaser thing. So it does its job in telling us, okay, this is what the movie's going to be about. But we still don't even know who we're going to be following. So I feel like in the first 10 pages, you need to have who we're going to be following, what the story's going to be about, be interesting for the love of God, and give us some reason to turn the page to go on to the next pages and the rest of the script.
Did you like Guardians of the Galaxy?
The first one, I loved it. The second one, not so much.
Why?
I feel like they went too big with the second movie, and then couldn't wrap it up in a way that made any sense. They also, I felt like in the first movie, did like a really good job of taking the humor and the action and the drama and melding them together in a good way. In the second movie, I felt like they went way too much with the funny, because that was what they were banking on from the first movie, was that it was a superhero movie that was kind of a comedy. And now they added too much comedy and went too big with who the villain was, and they could never get back to the main core of the story. And they kept the main characters apart for too long before they brought them back together. So it was like their character dynamics, they weren't able to play off of each other because they were suddenly not the same scenes anymore. And so all the stuff that worked really well in the first scene, the character dynamics, the comedy, a medium level of threat for them, they just kind of like went off the handles and lost track of everything in that second movie.
On the flip side, what about Sicario, the first one?
I have not even seen Sicario.
Okay. So we won't. Because I was going to ask, what do you think sometimes is the breakdown between the first one? Is it because the first film of a trilogy or whatever is a new world, it's fresh, the characters are interesting because we want to get to know them, but then we tire of them, or? And I'm not saying that happened with Sicario,
sure,
by the way.
I haven't seen Sicario, either of them, so I have no opinion on that movie whatsoever, other than it's a cool title. I would say that going from an original movie to the sequel, the problem, I feel like because you need to follow it up with something that's a little bit bigger, because the whole point of any movie is rising stakes throughout the course of it. You're starting with someone who's in their regular, normal world and then fucking with their lives. And so going from the first movie to a second movie, you want to keep that going. But I feel like the two big pitfalls of a sequel is either A, it goes too far, where it's like a huge leaps and bounds beyond what the first movie was, and it's how did they get there from here? Like, that's such a huge jump. Or they don't have even as big of stakes, where they kind of like pull it back a little bit too much. I don't know that we get necessarily tired with the characters per se. Like, I will watch every Marvel movie that ever comes out for the rest of my life because it's cool and I love it. But I'm not getting tired of the characters because they are keeping it fresh with the types of situations that the characters are in. Same thing goes with television series. They're constantly getting like more and more dramatic or bigger and badder characters, and there are different types of characters that they're having to face. I mentioned The Flash earlier. Like the problem with like the first 3 seasons of The Flash, the bad guy was always another speedster. So he's just going against somebody who has the exact same power set as him. So then with later seasons, they started giving him characters who had totally different power sets. So I think it was like 2 seasons ago, maybe, possibly 3. They had the Thinker was his bad guy, where the Thinker's superpower is just figuring out everything like 5-10 steps ahead of the Flash, knowing everything that's going to happen, and can set up all the dominoes so they fall exactly the way he wants it. And then, so it's like something that Flash couldn't beat that because he's really, really fast. He's a smart guy because he works for the police department, in the forensics department. So he's a smart dude, but his thing is moving really fast. So how does he compete with somebody who is thinking everything you could possibly do, no matter how fast you move? He knows all the possibilities and is set up, based on that. So it needs to keep changing and evolving, as opposed to just being the same story over and over. But you need to make sure to not go too far with the evolution to the point that it's not realistic anymore.